Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Munir Musa, Volunteer Director of Global Forum for Teacher Educators. I warmly welcome all the participants from over 65 countries who have joined this panel discussion on a very important topic of drug education. I would like to thank World Federation Against Drugs for this collaboration with Global Forum for Teacher Educators. Today we have three panelists. Regina from World Federation Against Drugs. Hello, Regina.
Hello.
Welcome to Global Forum for Teacher Educators.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We have second guest, Diana. We are waiting for her. Diana is from Fourth Wave Foundation. And the third panelist is Paul. He's the founder and international director of Sober Life International. Hello, Paul. Welcome. And I'm Dr. Munir, and I'll be the moderator of this session. So, let me share the format of this parallel session. Uh, each question will be posed to our panelists, and they will be given 3 minutes to share their viewpoints and their experiences about that question. So, I'll start off with, I think so, Dinah is here with us. Let's see. So, Regina, I have a first question to you. How would you describe the drug situation in your region?
Thank you for this question and again for having us today. I will speak a bit on the European region and I'll leave Asia and Africa to my dear colleagues. The European Monitoring Center for Drugs and Drug Addiction, EMCDDA, releases a report each year similar to the World Drug Report that showcases the current trends and the global situation in Europe and the countries within Europe. And what it has showed for 2021 is that, like we know, drug use encompasses a wide range of substances. And among people who use drugs, polydrug consumption is very much common, but equally challenging to measure. What we can see is that cannabis is the mostly common used drug. And this is similar to the global trends that we see from the World Drug Report as well. And the prevalence of cannabis use is about 5 times higher that of other substances in the region. So while heroin and other opioids remain relatively rare, these continue to be the drugs that are mostly commonly associated with more harmful forms of use, such as injection. What we can see also after the pandemic is that, or during the pandemic, is that the drug production and trafficking appears to have adapted quite rapidly to the pandemic-related restrictions, and that is a global trend as well. And we have seen very little evidence of any major disruptions in supply, so it hasn't affected the supply in the amount that was thought that it would do. And overall, generally, drug use is higher among men than among women. And the experience of drug use in more, ongoing, everyday, regular patterns is also reported higher among men than women. What we can see, though, is that the last year of drug use provides a measure of recent drug use that is largely concentrated among young adults. So it's estimated that about 17.4 million young adults between the ages of 15 and 34 have used drugs in the last year here in the region. And within this group, it's twice as many young men and boys as young women and girls. So we see this historical gender gap still quite strong, but what we do see is that it is narrowing somewhat among the younger age groups in the region. And this is similar to some of the trends that are highlighted in the World Drug Report as well. And to mention just the reasons for drug engagement in the region, it follows similar patterns as it does that we can see through theories, and that current experience suggests that these factors of risk use include individual, environmental, and social factors that together contribute to your added risk of developing a substance use addiction. And these risk factors for children can include parental substance use, lack of social attachment, both to family and to the community, trauma, it's quite regular. There's a lack of commitment to school, which is why this today is very important to talk about prevention within the school system. but also, environmental aspects, including high drug availability, poverty, but also media's portrayal of drugs and the normalization of drugs that we can see very much as a trend. And that we can also unfortunately see that young people today have are reporting that they do not see cannabis, for instance, as risky as previous generations, which also affects the use of such substances. So overall childhood adversity or a history of having been sexually abused is very much common among those, especially among young girls who start using drugs. So it follows similar patterns as it does on the world agenda. But we do have now in Europe a new drug agenda and action plan on drugs that started 2021. And they have made sure that the European response to the situation should be evidence-based and delivered through a balanced and integrated approach. So we are seeing some, developments, positive developments in terms of policy and engagement from the European Union as well.
Thank you for sharing all these facts. And it's really interesting to know that young adults, as you have discussed, are using it much more higher in terms of drugs. And cannabis is the most common drug in your region. Um, uh, Diana, if you are here, hello, Diana.
Hi. Yes, yes.
Hello. Yes, welcome to Global Forum for Teacher Educators. I would like to pose the same question to you. How would you describe drug situation in your region?
I very much have the similar take as Regina, and I'm sure Paul might follow me with a similar, line of discussion. That we have an increased trend in the use of narcotics, substances, psychedelics in the region that I'm coming from. And there is considerable increase in the way people are taking to it because there's a social normalization of the use of drugs.
Hmm.
And also there is a targeted marketing that is happening for alcohol, cigarettes, and other products. So there is kind of a move from all directions in terms of targeting youngsters.
Mhm.
And with the pandemic, like Regina just mentioned, there is a world of the internet that we are not able to now fathom in terms of delivery, the reach, the kind of access they have into the homes and lives of youth and children. So this problem is an increasing issue. There is a trend that's mapping it as a problem that's going to be chronic in the couple of decades to come. And we also see that there is greater dependency on psychedelics and the psychotropic substances, more so because the pandemic, seclusion, lifestyle of loneliness, all of this is also advocating to youngsters or women coming out to say that they're vulnerable. So dependency on opioids is another issue that we face in the area, with people really having no idea of how they succumb to it in the long term in terms of addiction and becoming dependent on these products. So while I say all this, we also have to say that India very much falls within the golden triangle and the golden percent. And we become very targeted as an Asian economy to be transiting drugs. And with the transit problem comes the increasing access to drugs in the local markets, because right now with all the restrictions with airlines, maritime restrictions, all of this is just lying in our backyards, so to say, and much more seeping into our communities than reaching its desired location. So there is a very increasing trend. There is as much evidence to prove that this is going to be something that we all have to debate, discuss, manage, and prevent as our biggest agenda for the coming decades. Hope
Thank
I
you. Yeah.
answered.
Paul, can you hear me? Paul?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me back?
Okay, Paul, I would like to pose the same question to you if you want to share your
Yeah,
viewpoints about the drug situation in your region.
yeah. I want to appreciate first of all you and my colleagues, and just in a nutshell, is to say that of course Africa is a very complicated region in terms of literally everything. And when you talk about drugs, especially, uh, in Europe and maybe other regions of the world, it's very easy to estimate, statistics and find data that governments have taken over time. But the same is very hard in Africa because we are just still in the very early stages of development, and therefore attention is given to more maybe immediate maybe issues like education, food security. So when it comes to more specific issues like drug abuse, you'll find very few countries or governments that have clear data of what's happening. Although the problem is there, it's obvious to see, and especially in the last 20 years, there has been a big and rampant outburst of drug abuse. What was initially just a conservative of maybe traditional use and maybe ceremonial use, now it's opening up, and especially the young people who have found themselves in a society that is changing very fast from a very traditional setup, and now education has come in. Influence from different regions. The Western lifestyle is coming. So the young people, whom in most of the African countries represent over 50% to 60%, so they find themselves in that kind of a crisis, transiting from a traditional lifestyle to a more westernized lifestyle. And therefore, when it comes to drugs, I remember when I was young, those were very unheard of. It was just a preservative, mostly of the elderly people, and maybe for very special occasions. But just the last 20, 15 years, the whole thing has changed. So there's a huge changing trend in Africa. And of course, one of the major reasons that is driving the young people into that, of course, is the embracing of the more liberal lifestyle. Propagated by the Western lifestyle, the media, and therefore young people are seeking identity with the more trendy, with the more popular lifestyle. And therefore, especially like alcoholism and psychotropic drugs, bang and other emerging drugs, they are very much on the rampant. So that is one of the reasons that there's a lot of influence from the more, the global lifestyle that is propagated through media, through interactions. And therefore, young people are getting into that at the same time. There's the draining of the, common values, maybe used to family values, where children were brought up with very strong community values, cultural values, religious values. But because of all these interactions, again, we're talking about, and the entry of education, the entry of a more civilized society, so those traditional values are becoming, less and less effective. And this is making the young people to feel more liberal and to become a bit rebellious to their traditional values, and therefore they can easily get into the new lifestyle of drugs. And I would say one more thing. Of course, there's a lot of how do I express it? Political and economic pressure. Because 20 years ago, it was easy for someone to finish school and get like a workplace very easily. People could even reach just high school and become teachers, could reach high school and get sponsorship to go abroad and, get easy opportunities. But now suddenly we have millions of people who are graduating. Every year you hear from high school, university, we have almost 5 million young people, getting into the job market, and the jobs are not there. So there's a market, but without jobs. So, so the personal pressure, the personal, uncertainties and hopelessness, loneliness, and idleness, is driving many young people into the easy way of getting relief. So that is just a nutshell of the situation, but other factors we shall cover as we continue. But the drug problem is real and is very rampant in the African region for now. Thank you.
Interesting. And I think so. Mental health education and counseling, social counseling is very important when we are talking about young people to understand what they are doing, what they are not doing. So, now my second question is to Diana. How is prevention helpful, and which strategies should be included to promote drug education or drug awareness? Hello.
I think you're muted, Diana.
Uh, I think so. Yeah. Hello there. Yes, Diana. So, as the question I would like to repeat: how is prevention helpful, and which strategies you think are useful to be included to promote drug awareness? We can't hear you, Diana. Okay. Let's move towards Paul. Paul, if you can first answer the yeah. Hello, Diana. I think so. There is some connection problem. So let's move towards Paul. Paul, if you can answer the same question, that which strategies should be included to promote drug awareness?
All right, and I think also the question asked what is prevention. So I would start by just defining from maybe this point of view about prevention. It's just deterring or minimizing the chances of young people getting initiated into the use of drugs, or at least trying to help those who are already in the initial stages to exit before they reach the extreme ends where they're in addiction or dependency. And first of all, I would want to say that in the African setup, because of the social orientation and because of the still somehow strong community values, family values, prevention can work. Within this region, prevention can work. I know in other regions they are more focusing on treatment and recovery, but in Africa, I would really want to emphasize that prevention can work because we are not yet fully out of the traditional way or the cultural way of lifestyle. People still have a lot of respect to values and maybe guidelines that can regulate the family and the community. And therefore, when we talk about even schools where teachers are expressed and are viewed as leaders and people who give guidelines and values to the society, so it is possible that prevention can work in Africa. The only thing is, especially like for the governments, to put more focus, because as I said before, in our context of development, some things seem to be a non-issue or to be a less issue. So there are other things that seem to take the forehand. There are things that are more focused and more thought to be more better. Talking about finding employment and food security and literacy and adapting some of this technology. So those are given a lot of emphasis at the expense of other things that are there or emerging. So I would think that if like prevention of drugs, because now it's not just emerging, it's really there with us. And the majority of the people who are affected are young people, school going, and those who just post school. If it's given enough emphasis, and like in schools, because that is where majority of the young people are, it can be given more attraction, it can be given more strength, it can be supported more. I believe that prevention can really work when young minds are, given the understanding and the awareness of what drugs can do to them in the next 10, 15 years. I believe young people would still, coupled with the fact that they are still socially oriented to respect and to hear what the pioneers in their community can tell them, I believe it will be a deterrent. It will be a very good deterrent for initiation. So I would say especially teachers have a great critical role. If they are well supported, they are well given resources and motivated, prevention can work in our region. Thank you.
So it means that you are focusing on school formal education for the young students, and as well as the role of teachers, very important. But if I'm not wrong, in Africa there are 54 countries, and when we look at the different states, you will find that not all the countries are at this working at the same pace towards drug education, and it's quite challenging.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it true, Paul?
That's very, very, very true. And even within countries themselves, yeah, you'll find there exists such a huge gap
Yeah.
I'm in Kenya, and in Kenya, at one point, like where in the capital cities, in Nairobi and other places, people are
Yeah.
very much aware about drugs. It's just all over. And the other side, we have a very rural and I would say illiterate and poor setup, extreme.
Hmm.
So you find that the distribution of awareness within Africa itself and within individual countries, there's such a huge gap. You talk about the northern region of Africa, it's mostly Islam, and
Yeah.
therefore,
Yeah.
they really work with very strict and laws that are very stringent. Then you move to other countries, they are a bit more liberal. Other countries,
Yes.
there's just lawlessness. So I think the level of harmonization about drug awareness, about young people in terms of their relationship with drugs, is very crippled. It's not very strong and evenly distributed.
So it means that formal, non-formal, and informal education can really work if we will go for all these stuffs. I want to pose the same question to Diana. Diana, are you here? Hello, Diana.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear
Yeah.
you. The same question is for you. If you can shed some light on the same question.
Right. I was saying that prevention is the way forward for large countries like ours, like Africa, where our the people power is very important. The demography, the size of our populations are so large that we are. If we really have more than 2 or 3%, that really means large populations, which we really need to manage. So that is a big concern. So prevention is a way to keep a lot of people taking early to drugs or taking to drugs and narcotics and other issues of addiction. The other prevention methodology that we clearly advocate is to start early in terms of schooling, starting as early as the fourth grade and the fifth grade. We work in the prevention space, and our requests have been to start early on. And we see that it really has its merits in terms of deterring youngsters or delaying the use of drugs, or them not taking to it for long term till adults, which in itself is a very healthy outcome of the work of prevention. That we are able to delay the on-take and keep children away or the youth away from it. So prevention, the way we see it as people at the grassroots, working clearly, promoting the idea of prevention and having the science behind it to prove it. We believe that this method is going to really benefit countries like ours, where we have populations that, if when take to drugs, will be huge and difficult to manage, because our countries like ours don't have social security systems, we don't have health systems. All of that, in the failing light of all of this, it really means that we need to safeguard people and let them know that keeping kids away or the youth away is the best way forward for us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And rightly said, because when I was researching about drug education, I found out that in many countries, the government feels that it's very important to educate at the higher level, at the university level. But rightly said by you, it's important to start from the beginning, from the grassroots level, so that we can educate the young generation about the consequences of drugs, so that they can have conscious mind to understand what they have to do, what they don't have to do. Regina, the same question to you.
Thank you. And I, first of all, I agree with my colleagues in their definitions of prevention, and what Paul said very clearly, that prevention works, and we know that it works in most countries. What we do need to see when we're focusing on prevention, I mean, although we aim to avert or delay the use or support people from exiting an onset addiction, but we also want to ensure, the healthy and safe development of children and youth, and so that they could grow and lead, their full potentials and their full talents within the communities in which they live and within the nations and globally as well. What the negative aspect of the current prevention strategies is that globally, very few evaluations have been made on prevention strategies, and among these, evaluations of the effectiveness of prevention, even less are disaggregated by gender. So we know very little in reality how well prevention efforts work for girls and boys respectively. We can see that for boys, the school setting and the community settings are vital in terms of preventing the onset addiction and preventing the use, risky behaviors, use of alcohol and drugs and other drugs. Whilst for girls, family settings are so far what has been shown to have the best effect on preventing. But that being said, this doesn't mean that the prevention strategies that we have aren't effective. It just means that we need to be better at evaluating these, to showcasing the best practices that we can see among, for example, WFAD members. We have a vast majority of members who have great experience in prevention work, and to support not only grassroots and other programs and activities in evaluating these effectiveness, but also to come together and push for a stronger policy on national levels that focus on funding prevention strategies and focus on developing these strategies and ensuring that we can see the effectiveness in all world regions. As of now, we see the main outcomes are have been evaluated in countries such as Canada and the US, or in Oceania and in Europe, and that says very little about specific cultural settings. So just to bring that along, that prevention works, it's effective, it needs to be evidence-based or based on experience, and it needs to be gender sensitive. And what we do know is that focusing maybe not so much on the risks as is, but rather on strengthening the protective factors in place for young people that we can control. And that is not only, in the family setting, in the community, but also very much in schools, and starting, like Diana mentioned, and yourself as well, starting early on is good.
Yes.
to ensure that we're able to support the healthy development of our young people.
So, gender sensitivity and evidence based drug education is important. And
Yes.
I personally feel that for that, I can rightly use the word contextual education. We need to
Mm.
filter it out which will work in which country, which will not work in other country. Because if we will just design drug education and we pose it for the world, it's not possible to adapt it. We really need to be gender sensitive. We have to understand the context of that country before putting that forward to the other people. Um,
Definitely. And just to add as well, and for
yeah.
it to be age appropriate, and for those of you who would like to learn more about the effective strategies, and not only through grassroots organizations, civil society, there's a lot to be learned. And the UNODC and WHO has also provided a document, a publication called International Standards on Prevention, where they go through different age categories and different settings. And it's very much based on global experience or regional experience. So it's not, it showcases this need that you're saying, the contextual need and the cultural settings need, and gender and age. So it's a good tool to use, and it's important that we all showcase also the good experiences that we have within civil society.
Paul, do you think that drug education should be added in the curriculum? And do you think it's a good strategy to aware young people about drugs? What are your viewpoints about it? Hello, Paul. Yes, Diana, if you can answer this question first.
Yes,
Hello.
Dr. Munir, if you can just repeat that. Sorry,
For sure.
you're
The
breaking.
question is,
Yeah.
do you really think that drug education should be added in the curriculum? And if yes, uh, do you think it's a good strategy to be
Am I
to
audible?
integrate drug education?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Paul, we can hear you now.
Uh, okay.
Should I take it?
Could
Or
you hear me?
Paul's taking
Yes,
it?
Dinah, I think so. Dinah, let you first speak about it, and then Paul will speak about it.
Sure, sure. Definitely, having prevention science or the methodologies for including this early into educational curriculum is definitely greatly advantageous, because advocating for health is something that we really need to teach early on. Healthy choices, responsible choices, choices that really keep youngsters healthy for long term. And like you said, also early on, they are in a mindset that clearly understands priorities in terms of health and the need for keeping healthy relationships as well. So it's kind of works, but like Regina said, curriculum is not the only methodology we have to follow, but we really have to try and reach the child or the youth where it really matters, or the problem areas of their lives, if it's the family or if it's the sports, the background of the play groups that they are in, or the peer groups that they are in. We need to reach as well, but definitely adding it into the curriculum is a great step forward, because considering a decade ago, there is a normalization that's coming through into all their lifestyles, in terms of media, in terms of access to networks. There is a great push to normalize taking to drugs and alcohol and tobacco early on, and to counter that, there is great merit. And UN, as Regina said, advocates for early intervention in families and schools. So definitely, yes. While we say all of this, we also need to show kids or youngsters and the youth as to where to put their energy elsewhere in a world that's becoming very difficult for them to socialize anymore. Be in groups that keep them healthy and active. All of those restrictions coming in, and they're constantly dependent on being online. There is merit in actually showing youngsters where to put their energy elsewhere. So for us, at least in the regions that we come from, we really advocate for sports and alternative pursuits like art, music therapy, things like that. So there is great merit. As much as we say the curriculum needs to advocate this, we also need to open up all avenues for children to be engaged, and children to find the spaces where they can spend their time and energy and be active and find some purposefulness in taking through that adulthood or going into youth. I hope I
Okay.
answered.
Paul,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Paul, if you can answer the same question.
Am I audible now? I was off.
Yes, you are.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay, great, great.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I would definitely say that drug education is as necessary as case in example, when again I was young in early primary school and high school. That is the time that so many people in Africa. And I remember there was such a great, campaigns and awareness until it was put as part of our school. It was in the curriculum as part of the health studies, and it really worked well. There was evidence that there was a reversal of the adverse effects that HIV was really doing in Africa. So now we are in the times of drugs. I mean, it has emerged as a major issue. So I think the earlier, it can be incorporated in part of being schoolwork and part of the studies, the better. From an early stage, the very basic awareness about drugs, all the way to the deeper things as young people progress, so that they are well equipped and well, they understand well exactly all about drugs. So I think if there was a way that this could be incorporated, actually the better, especially for our region. And I also want to emphasize a little bit about what Regina mentioned about the gender sensitive issues. And in the last, again, 20 years, there was a lot of emphasis about the rights of women, which was very good for sure, because there were so many positive things that happened within the family setup, reduction of domestic violence. Well, it's still there, but at least there was something good that came from the gender awareness issue. But again, when it comes to the focus on the young people, and one of the factors that has made many young men now get into drugs, it's because there was a feeling of a neglect of the boy child during that period of time. And therefore, you could find many parents, taking girls to school and boys not going to school because there was some incentives of taking girls and not boys. So you could find families who are not caring about boys. They were just left out and they became jobless. They became idle. So I think when we talk about drugs, we are touching on so many other related issues, including gender issues, age appropriateness, and all the things that can be incorporated that will definitely change the lifestyle of young people as they grow up. So yes, I support that point.
Okay, Regina, would you like to shed some light on the same question?
Sure. Yes, I agree with my colleagues here as well, but it's important
Yeah.
to include this in the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it's important that we not only speak about the harms of the drugs themselves or the effects of these drugs per se, but rather provide some sort of normative education about how many peers in adolescence age groups that actually have tried alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, because typically it's a lot less than the youth believe it to be, and peer pressure is a big point of experimenting with using any type of drugs at an early age as well. So when we offer these curriculums to ensure that we base them on life skills development that offer personal social resistance and communication skills,
Mm-hmm.
and that this education should be done, of course, by trained teachers that use interactive techniques that engage the young people in these discussions. So it's cooperative sort of response. And it is, of course, important that each school has a written policy on alcohol, tobacco, and other substances that covers not only the students in the school, but all the teachers as well.
Yes.
I think that would be one of the main, goals when we strive to have a safe and supportive school environment that, is made possible by clearly communicated policies and procedures that can provide and offer care and counseling and support for the students, and to include a cooperative approach among the staff and the students, as well as parents and their engagement with their children through the schools and related professionals and the community at large, and creating this community ownership of the prevention methods, because we need to see this as an integrated approach where all of us support in the ways through civil society, through the school system, and in the homes as well, and the families, to support that parents can offer the support needed for their children. um, and yeah, so just including this is key, but making sure that we have individual and environmental resilience related protective factors in the school settings would be key
Yeah,
from what
and I think that if we are discussing about drug education for the children, it's very important to educate parents. At the same time, we have
mm,
to educate the teachers. And
yeah.
if you will look at the curriculum of teacher education across the world, you will find we don't have specific subject on drug education that should be integrated in order
Mm,
to teach them, in order to train them about the methodologies that should be used to disseminate the same thing to the children. So it's really interesting that we really have to go for all the people, not only children, rather
mm,
than the people who are on the authorities, the teachers, and the parents. So it's not only about formal education, but it's also about informal education to disseminate it through media, through different workshops, seminars, and so many other things are there. So I just want to add one last question before we see the questions from the audience. Um, what's the role of, it's basically a personal question from my side. What is the role of social counseling and mental health education in reducing drug problems among the young people? Anyone can start giving the answers. It's the floor is open. Yes, Diana and Regina. Um, Anyone can give the answer about this question, that why do you think that social counseling and mental health education should be promoted among young people in order to reduce their inclination towards drug addiction?
definitely. An easy answer, definitely. Something Diana mentioned in the beginning, that we're
Yeah.
seeing, you know in this day and age, and especially one of the main negative effects of the pandemic has been the isolation and the increase, mental health issues that we see, among the population at large, but particularly within younger age groups. So focusing on prevention and counseling and supporting young people, not only in, in drug specific prevention matters, but also mental well-being, because it'll be something that if nothing is done, so to speak, on this issue, I don't know what the world will bring, and we want children and youth to have good possibilities to lead their lives in a healthy way, and in a way where they have, feel empowered and knowledgeable, and have the opportunities that they have the right to have. So definitely it's important to include this.
So let us go towards the questions from the audience. It's this one is not the question on the screen. This is a comment. In Albania, the age of the drug test for the first time has been reduced to 11 years old. Interesting, and this is worrying. Um, Here from the Romania, consumption of alcohol in Romania is a big problem among our students. So it's really interesting to see the different perspectives. Um, this one, these prevention programs should definitely be included in the school curricula. Yeah, so they are concurring with the viewpoints given by the panelists. The question is, how early? That's the question. How early we should start prevention program? I think so. Dinah has already posed the answer that we should start it from the early ages, like from grade 4. But Dinah, if you want to shed some more light about this question, if you want to.
Um, Definitely, what we do is grade 6 onwards. But like the previous comment mentioned, people or children are taking to it early, like 11 years old. So
Hmm.
11th grade is typically the 10. For us, it would mean the 11 years would mean the fourth grade or the fifth grade. So
Yeah.
that is a concern. The concern is that the age group is going fairly low, and we are not able to actually reach them within their settings. So the curriculum within the school is definitely to be advocated, but
Hmm.
school level policies will make a big difference. As much as the curriculum is just like another subject the children will go through, the policies within the school can actually influence a whole set of lifestyle choices as well, like the teachers, the caretakers, the management, the non-teaching staff, the sports staff,
Hmm.
all of them, or the entire environment of the school can actually propagate the message of healthy choices. And as much as we say curriculum, how early, I think we as adults have a serious responsibility to ensure that our children or youngsters or the youth don't take to it in ways that we can actually create safe environments, substance
Yeah.
abuse free environments. And school is one place we should all strive to create these environments.
True. There's one comment. We need to take effective steps in this regard so that we may protect our generation from destruction. True. Um, let's see any other question. Okay, in Romania, it's an interesting thing shared by one of the participants. We have a movie to present it to our children to prevent them using drugs. Yes, you can use movies, puppet, many other multidimensional activities, recreational activities, co-curricular activities through which we can really promote drug education among young people. Um, if there is any other question, please pose it. We are here for the next one more minute. Yeah, said by Salman Yazi, as the famous saying goes, to nip the evil in the bud. Rightly said. Yes, Miss Rekha, it's better to begin drug education at the root level, as already shared by our experts. It's very important to start it from the early session. It's not about that we have to start with the formal education when we are starting from the early education. We should start it informally and disseminate all these values through different activities. Let us see if there is any last question. Okay, it is said that government and our institutions are doing almost nothing on drug. Yeah, it's happening everywhere, but I think so. We have to take, we have to, as rightly said by Regina, we have to take ownership. It's very important. We don't have to wait for other
Yeah.
people. If we are really determined to aware other people about drug education, I think so we are the right people. We can take ownership. We can at least educate the people in our surrounding. If you are a teacher, you can educate children. If you are not a teacher, you can educate the people in your surrounding, your neighborhood, and that can really make a difference.
And
So,
may I add to that as
yeah,
well? Sorry, Dr. Munir.
sure,
Um,
please.
and just, it is sad that the governments aren't always having these national drug policies.
Yeah,
It's something that we as civil society and also teachers can unite in looking at our own strategies within the countries where we live. If there is a drug agenda, and if
yeah,
not, to start creating the discussions of the need of such an agenda. We've seen, for example, in one of our colleagues and projects in the Balkan region, one of our member organizations there are actually taking part now in forming the national drug agenda in Serbia because of the need to include civil society and experts in this, and they could come to the national drug offices and say that they were able to provide and offer their support. So that's one way we can do it as well, to create the discussions around it and ensure that governments understand the need of these national policies.
indeed. This is the last question. What is it's from Salima? What teaching strategies would you like to suggest to promote drug education? Any specific teaching strategy which any one of you can suggest to the audience? Yes,
Maybe I can
yes,
just
please.
mention, because of the diversity of our, cultural orientation in Africa, for instance, very
Mm-hmm.
simple awareness interventions can work. I remember like when HIV was really being addressed, and there are so many paintings, there are so many flyers, there are so many preventive messages that
Mm.
are being passed across. Specific for maybe primary schools and others for high schools. So I'm thinking like within Africa, just like posters on the walls of schools, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe just a few flyers, depending on the age, depending on the gender. There could be messages to pass across, and that can just start off the whole process, because young people will ingest anything that they are told by their mentors. So I'm thinking if we could start, as you said, we don't have to wait for someone from outside, but even schools themselves, they know that drugs is it's an issue, it's an upcoming
Yeah.
pandemic among young people. So from the very basic levels, having awareness posters, flyers that can just give messages about it. And then in high school, of course, now it can be more advanced, because now these are people that understand all the adverse effects of drugs.
Okay, so thank you all the members, panel members, for the healthy discussion. And I once again would like to thank World Federation Against Drugs for the collaboration. I hope we will be having more sessions in the future. At the end, dear members, we have a very good song sung by Laila. She has especially sung this song for all the members. So enjoy the song and thank you so much.
Hello, Global Forum for Teacher Educator members. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Layla Duffy, and today I will be singing Amazing Grace. Enjoy! Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, chores, and snares, snares. I have already come. This grace that brought me safe through far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shiny hat the sun, we've known last days to sing God's praise. And when we first begun, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I love singing this song, and this is like one of my most favorite songs to sing, so I was really excited to sing this song, and thank you again.